Hello everyone, I'm making this video because anytime I see an LGBT flag, I hear about a gay agenda, I hear about the LGBT community trying to indoctrinate kids, and I just really want to show people where this rhetoric is coming from. Now, whenever I hear negative things about like drag queen story hour, it's always coming from the same areas, the same conservative groups on Facebook and YouTube, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, the Daily Wire. Whenever you hear about this shit, it's always coming from these guys or from Fox News, Sky News. It's always the same areas peddling this shit. Now, for people who don't give a fuck about politics, they don't know too much about these guys. Now, it might, on the surface, a lot of what they're saying might seem like, genuine concern. Like, who wouldn't want to be concerned about their kids being taught gender theory in schools and being indoctrinated? No one wants their kid to get confused about their gender and then, becoming really depressed and having, mental health problems related to that. No one wants to confuse their kids. But what these guys don't tell you is that they're trying to indoctrinate your kids in another way. These guys, let me just show you.
Brings you books like Home of the Brave, for example, in which they discuss things like American values and American history. They're beautifully illustrated, they're really well written, and they have values that you can feel comfortable sharing with your children, which is the most important thing. There's so many forces out there that are seeking to twist what kids think. There's so many people out there who want your kids to believe things that they really shouldn't believe, who want to take control of your child's education away from you. Not so with conservative kids. Conservative kids is the way that you can teach your kids about the stuff that matters. They bring you all sorts of beautiful books,
matters,
a great
mate.
variety, a great...
Okay, so these books don't seem that bad, like The Land of Opportunity, Taste of Freedom, shit like that. That seems alright, right? Like, who doesn't love freedom and shit? But in this same video, what he doesn't tell you is, like, he literally has a video where he's explaining politics to kids, right? Now, if kids aren't old enough to learn about, like, inclusivity and about how different types of people exist, about being yourself, which is what they're teaching at Drag Queen Story Hour, Now, there's a debate to be had about teaching gender theory in schools. Like, I personally don't think gender theory should be taught until high school, because you're just going to confuse the fuck out of kids. But as you can see in this video, Ben Shapiro, this same person who's against teaching kids about things because they're too dumb, he's the same person that's about to attempt to teach kids about shit that's pretty out of their league.
Joe Biden.
I'm with you.
Unfortunately, Joe Biden.
Joe
Biden.
That's right.
Unfortunately.
My kids tire me out. Okay, the president.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Who knows who the
Biden.
president is right now?
Biden.
Yeah.
Joe Biden.
That's right.
Unfortunately, Joe Biden.
I'm with you.
Unfortunately, Joe
Like, he
Biden.
just has these little
Biden,
digs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He'll have these little digs throughout the video. They don't seem that bad, but it's like, I know that in primary school and high school, whenever politics would get brought up, my teachers did the responsible thing and they said, I'm not allowed to tell you my political opinion because this is school and we're not allowed to teach politics. They would not tell us what president was their prime minister was their favorite. They wouldn't tell us stuff like that. Like, yeah, some of the cool teachers would have conversations with us. Like, one explained the difference between, like, Labour and Liberal and stuff like that. But for the most part, they stayed out of politics. They didn't want to try to teach us which side was right. They just wanted us to make that decision for ourselves. Yet here he is talking to these kids saying about how Joe Biden sucks.
Do you think Biden actually follows his own law?
I think that Biden kind of makes up the rules as he goes. I don't think, unfortunately, he cares very much about the rules for being president. I think he just tries to do whatever he can do. And then he hopes that nobody stops him, which is not a very good way of being president. And that's why the founders were really smart. The founders created a system where there are people who can stop you if you break the rules. What was going on, and they lied a lot, and then it got out and killed a lot of people.
Now, it doesn't seem like a big deal, like him just being, like, biased against, like, Democrats and stuff. Like, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But when you have impressionable young kids who are watching this, They're just gonna grow up thinking, oh, Joe Biden sucks, you know, Trump's the fucking man. And like, I'm not even saying if I disagree with whether I like Biden or not. Like, fuck, at one point I would have voted for, if I was American, I might have voted Trump over Biden, who fucking knows? You know? But that's not what you're supposed to be teaching kids. Kids aren't supposed, you're not supposed to, you know, they don't know about politics. They can't just look this shit up and decide for themselves who's a good leader. They're just going to grow up and naturally assume it aside just because they wanted to pick a side. That's not how politics should be taught. We should teach kids the basics so they can make it up for themselves, not just tell them who to pick a side for. It's not a fucking sports team. It's politics. This shit is important.
Do you think the Supreme Court will overturn Roe versus Wade?
Wow. I think the Supreme Court will not overturn Roe versus Wade, unfortunately. I have a feeling that the Supreme Court is going to change the rules of Roe versus.
Now, for Roe versus Wade, for those who don't know fuck all about politics, is the bill in America that was gonna, it was gonna make it, I think, so that abortion could be legal or something. It's gonna make abortions easier, more accessible for people. Now, most normal people think, you know, abortion is just a medical right. Women have the right to their own bodies. And here he is saying, unfortunately, I don't want this thing passed to kids. You know, like that kid probably doesn't even know what the fuck Roe vs. Wade is. They probably just threw out some buzzwords, you know, they probably just heard it being talked about. And now he's just saying, oh, it's a bad thing. Like, he's teaching kids that the right to a woman's own body is bad. You know what I mean? It's just throwing all these little subliminal things just so that these kids are going to grow up as conservative as fucking possible. Now, that's what I fucking hate, right? Now, that's what I hate. Now, look at this lady. Look at this lady. It's the same energy as this bitch.
Rights. But they don't have a right to take my tax dollars and impose their doctrines on little kids and get them all confused and screwed up. The kids are all messed up. We need things to stay just the way they were supposed to be. The kind of change we need is for people to start listening to the Creator.
Now, this is what I don't like. Conservatives will go on to the moon and back about how gay people in the LGBT community trying to indoctrinate kids, trying to confuse them, trying to teach them things that's out of their league because they're too dumb to understand it. Yet they want to indoctrinate kids into believing that there's a magic man in the fucking sky that created the earth in 7 days. There's no scientific proof to prove it. I'm not saying you can't teach your religion to your kids or whatever, but how the fuck is like a drag queen reading a storybook, a kid's book, to a kid evil, but you want to indoctrinate your kids into believing religion? Mind you, half of the world's wars were caused by religion. Half the hatred in the world is caused because some cunt was told by the Bible that being gay is a sin. You know? So many gay and trans people are being assaulted, murdered, just because someone read a book. This is the values that these people want to put onto your kids. These are the values that they want to put onto your kids. They want your kids to be capitalist. They want your kids to hate gay people. They want your kids to take away the right for women to have rights over their own bodies. They are constantly trying to indoctrinate your kids, yet they will have a problem with drag queen story time. You know, innocent, basic ass shit like fucking this shit.
Drag queens with adult entertainment, so they think if it's a drag queen, it can't be appropriate for children. And we have to really often explain to people, this is a program designed for children. It's a drag queen reading children's books, singing children's songs. There's nothing adult about it.
The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout.
I think often it's hard for people to just kind of get beyond their preconceived notion of what a drag queen does.
We're not trying to pull people to be drag queens.
In the hat about gender fluidity. I like to invite them in to see before they judge a drag queen story hour. I love my wet shoes.
I think there's just something about us being larger than life, and that's really what they react to.
You get a lot of oohs, ahs, wows, and what's that?
To kids, I think, drag queens are princesses come to life or superheroes.
One of the kids said, a drag queen is someone who dresses fabulous, fancy. And I was like, oh, you're correct.
But yeah, like, if anyone did any research in what actually happens at these drag queen story times, it's literally just drag queens reading storybooks. Like, if you actually look closely at the books they're reading, it's like a cat in fucking socks. Or like, this storybook over here, like, I can't fucking find it. But, like, literally, the books are literally just normal kids' books, or books to do with just accepting everyone. They're not teaching gender theory. They're not trying to fucking... And I know people are going to comment in the comments with their fucking 2 TikToks of that one person in an American school that's trying to teach gender ideology. And yeah, if that was a real TikTok and it wasn't fake, then yeah, that's bad. We shouldn't teach kids gender ideology. But that's not actually happening. A drag queen story time is just a drag queen with dancing, singing songs, interacting with kids. When they get asked what's a drag queen, they just say, oh, someone that dresses up, someone that dresses fabulous. At the start of this video, they ask, oh, what do you think a drag queen is? I think it's in this section here.
Hi, I'm Miss B. I am the drag queen for Drag Queen Story Hour this hour. Welcome!
I look at the way they're interacting, having fun.
When I first heard about it, I was just like, where can I sign up? And I was part of the first few girls who started Drag Queen Story Hour in New York City. So when I put on my wig on my dress, like...
Okay, that wasn't the right bit. But yeah, these drag queens are literally just reading stories, interacting. The point of it isn't to teach them about gender. The point of it is to read books, have fun with them, make reading and dancing and that fun, but then also teaching, being like, oh, let's be inclusive, like they might talk a little bit about, oh, let's accept everyone, like there'll be a storybook about like different animals and different colored animals and different sizes of animals and how everyone should be accepted for who they are. And the message might be put across that way. They're not literally being like, oh yeah, fucking gay people exist, trans people exist, fucking accept us, Like, anyone that did a sliver of research would know this shit, but people would rather listen to idiots like this. Now, this is another great video. This is like these same people who who think that drag queen story time is evil. They're idiots like this who think that, like this is what they think is good values, right? Like,
married and don't want to ever have children. Are you opposed to them being married?
Well, I wouldn't advocate a law that would prevent it.
But would it change the definition of what their marriage is to you because they don't want to have a family? They just want to have a loving bond?
I think this would be a couple that is rejecting one of the fundamental aspects of marriage, and they should be open to life. I would hope that in the future they would be, but
isn't that just a personal choice? I mean, you can have a very fulfilling life if you just follow your pursuits and your dreams and your interests. And you find someone that shares those interests with you and you share time together. It's very fulfilling and loving.
Yeah, it's a personal choice, and that I'm not advocating for like a law that says that you if you're married you have to have X number of kids.
But then why are you opposed to 2 gay people doing that?
Well, because again, it's not about choice. It's about what this institution, marriage is an institution, and what is it, and what purpose does it serve? And I do not agree with tearing down or changing this definition, especially because the people who have changed the definition haven't come up with a new one. So they say, well, that's not what marriage is. So for thousands of years, we said marriage is the procreative union. And then we had the other side who came along and said, well, it's not that. Okay, well then, like, what is it exactly? And I know you said, well, it's people who love each other. Two people love each other. Well, but then why two people? Why do they have to love each other? All these kinds of questions. You get into, what if they're in the same family? What if brothers and sisters want to marry? And I know every time that comes up, the advocates for gay marriage will say, well, that's a slippery slope argument. That's a fallacious. But it's actually not. It's like we're trying to get to what do you even think this institution is now, since you've rejected out what we were saying it was. And I've never found a compelling definition.
These are the crazy cunts that think that these cunts are crazy. These guys, this is where you're getting your information from. When they talk about your kids being indoctrinated and they try to scare you into thinking that drag queens and gay people are evil, these are the dumb motherfuckers that think that. He's still stuck in that 1950s mindset that the entire point of marriage is to procreate. The entire point of marriage is to succeed the human line. You know what I mean? The only point of a woman, the only woman's fucking point of existing is to bear kids. He doesn't think anyone should get married unless the point of it is to reproduce and to just make more humans. Fuck love. Fuck the hundreds of other cultures other than our one that say, let's just get married because we love each other. Let's just get married because I love you. That's too much for him. Yeah, that's too many levels for him. He can't possibly comprehend the idea that people want to get married just because they love each other. He thinks that, and when he says that they want to break down the definition of marriage, but they don't have a new one, we do want a new one. We didn't make it that complex, actually. In Australia, we already changed the law here to say, instead of the definition of marriage being a union between man and woman, we just changed it to a union between two people. It's not that complex. It's not that difficult. Yet he can't seem to put this together. Now, these same conservative values that they're trying to teach your kids is just conservative Christian bullshit from the 1950s. The same 1950s bullshit that has been holding us back as a society since the fucking dawn of time. The same ideology that the Crusades were started over. Entire wars where millions of people have died were started because of shit like this. Because people read a fucking Bible and they want to spread their ideology. Yet drag queens reading storybooks to fucking kids and singing Incy Wincy Spider is the fucking problem? Yeah, nah. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. No, yeah, nah. If you want to continue to get your info from the Daily Wire, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, be my fucking guest. But don't try to tell me that there's some LGBT agenda. Because this is the real agenda. They're trying to fucking indoctrinate your kids to be capitalist, fucking religious, fucking you name it. And it's disgusting. And this video is going on for long enough, I don't edit shit. I just do it one cut because I don't give a fuck. But I hope everyone has a good one, Yeah, let's have a good one, guys.